All right, so it's 7 o'clock on October 10th, 2024, and I'm calling this meeting of the Shutesbury Conservation Commission to order. This meeting is being recorded. All right. How's everybody doing?
Good. It's fall. It's beautiful out there.
I know. I love the cooler temperatures.
Better than that, there's a very good shot at Northern Lights tonight.
That's my son was saying that. It looks a little cloudy though.
Might be, but the radiation, the causes it is supposed to be as good as it was last spring. So it might be good. Maybe between the clouds.
A night full of radiation. That sounds awesome.
Right?
Let's see, Bob's not going to be here tonight, and Mateo couldn't make it tonight either, but he did start on Tuesday, which is great. I think you guys might have seen some emails from him. He kind of dug right in, I think, and started figuring out some of his tasks at the office, and then he did mention digging in a little bit to old minutes, which is really great. And I'm meeting with him next Tuesday, and I believe Carrie is meeting with him on the 19th, which might be a Saturday, I'm not sure, but so it'll take him a couple weeks to kind of get the hang of it, but I think he's going to be great, and I'm sure he will be at our next meeting. So let's see, first on agenda was comments from the chair. That was one of the things I wanted to talk about was Mateo. The other was that Jan and Scott, we went to the Shutesbury birthday party, which was fun. It was a beautiful day, and it was a great day to celebrate birthdays. And we handed out 5, I think, of our little sheets describing what it is to be a conservation commissioner, so that hopefully we can get some interest in our 5th member. So that would be really helpful. But it was fun. We had a good time, and some people just were interested in what the Conservation Commission does too, and that was great. I also wanted to ask you guys, so come November, we only have 1 meeting a month. We switched back to 1 meeting a month. Again, we do that. Yay. And I was wondering if you guys want to do it the 2nd Thursday of the month or the 4th Thursday of the month.
I'm not sure. Let me look.
My only thought would be that the 4th Thursday may fall like around Christmas. I haven't looked at a calendar actually, but it might just be a little more challenging than if we did the 2nd.
Yeah, I think 2nd. I mean, it works as good as any other.
Okay. Jan, do you have any preference?
I don't.
All right, so why don't we go with the 2nd Thursdays of the month for November through April? Yay.
Yay.
That'll be great.
So the 14th would be our next.
Well, we have one more meeting in October on the 24th of October in 2 weeks. And then, then our November meeting would be the 14th. Which works out because the 28th is Thanksgiving. So I think having it on the 2nd Thursday will work better. Probably for December too. Yeah, in December, the 2nd Thursday is the 26th, which is like the day after Christmas. So having it the 2nd Thursday is just better, right? Okay, great. So next on the agenda is conservation land management. Scott, I know you've been doing lots of things. You've been very busy.
It has been busy. Well, busy-ish. We did talk about the potential for monitoring at Sumner Mountain. We have a conservation restriction there. In the past, we've done some, we've contracted that work actually with, I think it was Charlie Eisner, I think is his name. And he did say that he would be willing to do that again this fall. His fee is $350. I believe we have money in an escrow to pay for that.
Mhm.
So that's one decision. I do you want to just tee this up for later conversation, Madam Chair, or what would you prefer?
No, we should talk about it now, I think. I mean, yeah, keep going.
So that's one decision to make. I have reached out on the West Quabbin Woodlands. We got the curb cut approved for the parking lot there. That's on a tract of land that I believe is owned by the town, but it was with a I think it's a partnership that we have with Kestrel Land Trust, and they so the highway department approved the curb cut. I think I did reach out to Stuart at Kestrel to talk a little bit about the parking lot and configuration. So we're working through that. I think the next step there would be to finalize that. I think we're thinking a small 2-car parking lot off the road there. There really isn't room for a very large parking lot at all, but enough maybe to get 2 cars in. And then we would need to bid it. And I think I have the names for 3 bidders that we could put it out for. So I really don't know what it would come in at. And I think that was a question I had for you, Beth, would be the money that we have left in the grant to pay for that. I think I want to say it was 1,000 something.
I think so too. Yeah, I think it was again, I think Penny had those numbers but that's what I remember too.
My recollection. So it's not a lot of money to do very much. I think it would be to smooth it out and put some gravel down. But so that would be maybe the next decision would be to move forward with kind of working with Kestrel to finalize that parking spot. I think we're talking approximately 400 square feet, something like that, for 2 parking lots. And I don't know if it'll be a square or a rectangle configuration, but that's what we were thinking about. And then maybe the last thing that I did a little work on was the Southbrook Conservation Area. There, I was looking at some of the previous assessment that have been done, and they have a number of some of the small bridges that are in need of replacement. One of them is looking pretty bad. It's kind of on that piece right to the south of Russ Greco's house, and I'm kind of concerned about the safety of that for people crossing it, especially with snow machines. Also, continuing to the south of that, the trail is now regularly washing out, or there's standing water there. I think there's more water coming down Wendell Road and coming in onto the culvert there. I noticed the culvert is starting to wash out, and so it's just a separate issue there on the road. But I did contact Evan, who I think he works at Coles, but he's with the Snowmobile Club, and he had replaced, if you recall, some of the bridges before, and so he's taking a look at that to give me a bid on what he thinks it would be to to put replace that bridge and maybe extend it to where it's flooding. So I think that might be it. Some of the highlights from our land management. We did do the last item, the old peach orchard monitoring. So Beth and Jan and I accompanied the landowners there at the old peach orchard and walked the property. Everything looked to be in compliance with the conservation restriction on that property. And I did write up a site visit and sent it to the Concom, so we should probably vote on that.
Yeah, I think we should vote on that, and we can also, I think, vote to allot the money to hiring Charlie Eisner to do Sumner Mountain. And then just back to Southbrook, didn't Evan work on that bigger bridge that's closer to the road? They rebuilt that, right?
They did a great job, and it was pretty inexpensive. That's why I thought, well, I'd have him take a look at it, and I think he's associated with the Snowmobile Club as well, so it would be built to those standards.
Yeah, because this is the bridge that goes over almost like a little stream. I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, and then further south of there, the road is low, and there's a culvert that comes in from the east, from where the road is, and that's just standing water and getting really muddy on the trail. So people are trying to find their way around it.
Yeah. That'd be great. Whatever he comes up with, because I think we have some money for Southbrook too. When she came most recently to one of our meetings, and she said we had, this much money for Southbrook and then this much money for Top of the Lake. So anyway, I can look back and see how much money that was for Southbrook. Yeah, why don't we take a vote to approve the Old Peach Orchard CR monitoring report? I need a motion.
I motion.
I'll second.
Great. Rowan?
Aye.
Khan?
Aye.
And Wilson? Aye. I think I forgot to mention, Jan, do you mind continuing to do minutes for a little bit longer?
I'm furiously writing.
Because Mateo had said, if he could work for a little bit on some of the older ones. So maybe did we already talk about this? If you could do minutes maybe at the next meeting, and then maybe the first meeting in November, he could start. That would give him, that would just give him a few weeks to catch up with some of the older minutes. Okay, and then we were going to vote to allot, how much did you say? 350 for Charlie Eisner?
Yep, 350.
Okay, so allot $350 for Charlie Eisner to do the annual CR monitoring at Sumner Mountain. Motion?
I motion to pay for Charlie.
Second.
All right, Rowan?
Aye.
Khan?
Aye.
And Wilson? Aye. Excellent. My cat is driving me crazy. All right, next on the agenda, I think, Jan, site visits.
Oh, can I ask one more question? Where
Yes.
is the curb cut? What road is it on for the West Quabbin Woodlands?
Pelham Hill.
Oh, okay.
Pelham Hill.
Yeah, it's right on the town line.
Okay. Okay, so we had a few site visits on October 1st. Bob and I visited 16 Sumner Mountain Road. We met with Eli Masterson, the contractor for the project. The homeowner is George Durante. He was looking to put in a very small deck and said there was a vernal pool on the property. And so we took a look. It was all further than 100 foot away. And we didn't see there was any issue for us there. On October 5th, all of us, Beth Scott and I, met with Penny Jakes at Top of the Lake. Is Top of the Lake a conservation? What are we calling that? Is that an easement, a town property?
Yeah.
What are we?
Town property.
Yeah, that's conservation land.
Conservation land, okay. Penny had done a lot of work there and it looked like things were kind of finished. Her recommendation to us was that the highway department continues to mow, that some additional plantings be made along the edge of the growth vegetation by the lake. And that we work to eliminate some invasives that were identified there, including buckthorn and bittersweet. And I'd say, she didn't quite say it, but I'd say we need to continue to accept her volunteer activities there with the gardening and any other volunteers that may be interested. And the last thing was do we report on this, Beth? We did the Lotto 32, the library wetland, or do we wait until we get Ward's fall report?
Well, I think you can just say that we did it and that, you know, we'll be expecting his report, but you can talk about it a little bit if you want to.
So Beth and I and Penny and Mary Ann Antonellis, the librarian, took a look at a couple of wetland spots on the library lot. One is way to the rear and one was off to the left if you're looking from the road. We did that with Ward Smith, who has been monitoring the site. There is a wetland in the way back. It's flagged. Ward mentioned that we could move some shrubs from the lower portion of this designated wetland area so they don't drown. Otherwise, that was fine. And the one up closer to the road, he thought was not a wetland and that we should treat it as a buffer zone. It had grown in fairly nicely. And he thought that it could continue to be managed the way it's going. So that looked good. Everything kind of looked good. And we'll get a report from him soon.
Yeah, I was glad to just hear this. So he seems like he's doing this twice a year and we have one more year of monitoring of the two wetland areas, the wetland restoration areas. But yeah, they did seem to be growing in pretty nicely.
Not all wetlands in the one by the road.
Right,
Still look good.
right.
And that's all I have.
Okay. So do you want, you could talk now or we could talk later just about upcoming site visits. That I think there was that one with
We set up just this morning or this afternoon, I set a meeting up with Mark Whiteman. This is where he's trying to get an easement or a conservation restriction on his property there on Montague Road. He would like us to come back on October 24th, right before the next meeting at 3:45.
Yeah, that works
In
for
fact,
me.
he's got it pinned as we requested.
Yeah, I think it's Leverett Road though. It's not Montague Road.
Right, don't go there.
Right. Leverett Road, yep. Scott, can you make that one? Just it has to do with conservation easement, so the 24th at 3:45.
Let me look. Oh, that's oh wait. No, October 24th.
Yep.
I am going to be out of town that whole week. So no, I can't make that day. I'm
Okay,
around,
well,
around
all
other
right.
guys.
Jan, I think we should still do it because he's coming to the meeting that night. So Jan and I, and maybe Bob, we'll just take a look and we'll make sure that all those pins look like they're in the right spot. It's great that he pinned the whole boundary. I think that's great. So we'll take some pictures for you.
And the other thing you asked was that we do some more routine monitoring of the erosion controls at the library site. I sent something off to Marianne, but I have not heard back. So we'll
Oh.
do that.
Great, thank you. Thank you for doing all that organizing, Jan. And thanks, Scott, for doing all the conservation area stuff. That's great. All right, it's 7:21, so we can start our 7:15 item, which
Do
is,
you want to approve the minutes?
oh, yes. Didn't see that. Yes. Does anybody have any comments or changes to the September 26th minutes? Nope. Okay. Motion to approve the September 26th minutes.
So motioned?
Second,
Second,
Rowan,
Aye.
Khan,
hi.
and Wilson. Aye. All right, so let's start with our 7:15 item, which is continuation of the request for amended order of conditions for 31 Lakeview Road. And I see there's a few people here for that one. Do you all as applicant want to say something now in the beginning? I'm ready to share that red line version of the order of conditions whenever we want to look at it, but if you have things to say, please do.
No, go ahead and share. That's fine, Beth. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, is that what yeah, good. Let's do that. See if I can make this work. Here we go. Can people see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, all right. It's kind of goofy. All right, so this is the red line version that I sent around to everybody.
Beth, if you don't mind, I'll take you up on your invitation to just say something on behalf of the Salvadors at the beginning.
Yeah.
First of all, we want to thank you for taking the time and effort and putting your talent into addressing the edits to the proposed amendments. You offered to do it, and it was very kind of you, and we appreciate that. Secondly, depending on how you want to proceed, we have a couple of comments to your edits. I'm sorry we couldn't get to them to you sooner today, but given our schedules and getting them this morning and getting with the Salvadors right before this meeting, I was unable to put that together. So, but I think we're very close to closing this out, and hopefully we'll do it tonight. We certainly don't want to go to the November once a month meeting schedule, and hopefully be done tonight. So depending on how you want to proceed, I can either put forth our comments, or if you'd rather make a presentation yourself, and then we'll put our comments in after that, whatever way you're comfortable proceeding.
Why don't I just give a quick overview of what I have in here, just in case folks haven't looked too closely at it, and that way, if the commissioners also see anything that I missed from last meeting, we can all make our comments, I guess, because I may have missed some stuff. So I'll just quickly, it's not a lot of changes really. But I did take out the in perpetuity for the general sort of name of this section of conditions, so it just says post-construction. I added in something that I think Scott was commenting on, where we've got the applicant shall, for number 30, condition number 30, the applicant shall maintain and repair markers and boulders as needed, maintaining the limits of the no disturb area. And then what I took out of condition 30 was the statement basically saying that it continued to perpetuity. But all the rest of the language is there. 31, whoa, 31, I think this was one that we definitely talked about at the last meeting, where we said we wanted to change this statement before any sale of the property in perpetuity to shall be inspected by the commission periodically. And that's the boulders and pins that mark the no disturb. And then I took out again the statement that was more of sort of intention. It wasn't necessarily a condition. It just, which I think we decided didn't really fit into a condition. 32 stay the same. 33, oops, I knew that was gonna happen with this. Stop. Okay. 33 took out perpetual wetland restrictions. And I think so. This is prior to the sale of the property, the owner shall provide a letter to the Conservation Commission notifying the commission that they notified the grantee or new buyer of requirements of this order of conditions and the deed restriction regarding wetland protection areas and no disturb. So we took out perpetuity, but we did include that at the time of sale, they need to inform future buyers of the deed restriction. And same for 34, same idea. Grantee shall provide a letter to the Conservation Commission. So the new owner, understanding the order conditions and the deed restriction, taking out the language of perpetuity. This is very slow. I just want to show the deed restriction. Didn't change it at all, but I just wanted everybody to, again, review this deed restriction, which would be in perpetuity. This first number 1 is basically saying no impact to the resource areas that are on the site. And then number 2 talks about impacts to the no disturb area, which are prohibited. Describes them as placement of fill, placement of leaves, grass clippings, brush, rubbish, garbage, debris, mechanical mowing, cutting or other disturbance of indigenous plant species, landscaping, placement of structures, pilings, or impervious surfaces, alteration of substrate, any other activity which would temporarily or permanently alter the wetlands. Okay, so yeah, I'd like to hear from the applicant what they think of this, and then after that, commissioners also can make comments on what I might have missed.
Thank you. So subject to comments from Kathy and Joe, paragraph 30, the edit with the blue highlight, maintain the limits of the no disturb area, and striking out the last sentence is acceptable to the applicant. Paragraph 31, we continue to have some concern about the language in section 31 as it impacts ownership of the property. So as you know, the boulders are there, they're not going anywhere. The concern is pretty consistent, and I think is reasonable. And I know it's supported by the law. The sentence that says the applicant shall instruct all agents to explain these markers to buyers, lessees, landscapers, and all persons taking over the property from the applicant. This language, as general and vague as it is, places, I think, an extensive and far too broad burden on the applicant, who wouldn't be the applicant at the time anyway. It would be the owner, but as you've had it defined in this agreement as always the applicant, I think that's a reasonable use of that term. But to place the burden on the homeowner to notify everyone from a buyer or lessee, an agent, that that this condition exists and refers to 30 is, I think, unenforceable and awkward. And the Salvador's proposed language in contrast to this, that would they would commit to saying that the applicant shall install a permanent sign / marker on the property in the location of the first mark, because they all go along. And unfortunately, I don't have, I can't share my screen because I'm on my iPad today, but Kathy had ordered this very nice, and I know Kathy can share it later. It's a sign, and it has, looks like a heron and some wetlands, and it says, "Wetland protection area. This area is a fragile plant and animal habitat. Please help protect this precious resource." So the homeowner is willing to agree to have a permanent sign placed on the site of this wetland protection area to notify everyone, keeping in mind that anyone else, whether they be a broker, a lessee, a buyer, they are on notice of this information through the Registry of Deeds with the deed restrictions. And so requiring the homeowners to undertake this burden, I don't think this has any basis in the law. And it could be fraught with peril if the Salvadors were, had passed away and their children were being responsible for this and not doing it, and then getting in trouble or imperiling a sale. That would be unfair. Again, you have asked for the right to periodically inspect the property, which you do have, particularly if there's any concern about a violation. Just make sure that that sign was in place, and they don't have any objections to that. So we would like to work with you to craft some language that says that they shall install and maintain a permanent sign notifying of the public or notifying everyone that the wetlands protection area exists in the location where the sign is and the markers are. So that's with respect to 31. With respect to 32 and 33, we would like you to consider collapsing those into one, because one, they're a little bit redundant. Two, I do think, again, that they're unenforceable, overbroad, and overreaching. You're asking, again, the applicant prior to the sale to do things that again, they may not be in a position to do, including providing a letter with an original signature to the Conservation Commission. As an aside, most things are done electronically these days, and even in the registry, but nonetheless, so it puts the burden on them to notify the commission that they may be transferring or selling their property. Again, the buyer will have a title search done, and they will be able to come to know that these deed restrictions are in place. And so we think that if you collapse 32 and 33 and take the onus off of the applicant or the buyer from notifying the Conservation Commission to say that I know about these when they're buying them with a notice of public record. But you could say prior to the sale, the grantor can notify the committee of the proposed sale or transfer. And doing that would, I think, accomplish what you want to accomplish. And the notice could also say, and refer the buyer to the deed restriction for their reference, which I don't think is necessary. The last thing is in your deed restriction, I think it would be fair to ask that right at the end of the first paragraph, where it says this restriction prohibits in perpetuity, to put the phrase unless otherwise modified by the Conservation Commission. So I would not want to have a situation where some applicant or a potential buyer was in there asking for some relief, and you would say, well, I'm sorry, we can't change it, it's in perpetuity. You would reserve the right to have the authority to modify that. So those are the points that I think we'd like to have you consider. And Kathy, do you have any further input on my comments?
No, I think you captured it all. I think the only thing I would say is that you were talking about collapsing 32 and 33, but it's 33 and 34, correct?
I misspoke, you're correct. 30.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we're all looking at the same section.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, what was the language for the deed restriction? I'm gonna just type it in just as though I have it. It sounded, but we
Oh.
need to talk about it, but you said prohibits in perpetuity unless,
Otherwise modified by the Shutesbury Conservation Commission.
commissioners, are you okay with that statement? It seems like it's all right with me. I mean, it's just basically, in a way, looking out for changes that might come about by some Conservation Commission in the future.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I would defer to both councils. I have seen language like this where it's, modified acceptable to both parties. I don't know if there would be any concern with the commission modifying the deed restrictions in some other way that would not be acceptable to the landowners, but I'm fine with the language as spelled out.
Okay. All right. Oop, jumping around. All right, let's start with 31 then. Move my cat. So one question I have with 31, and I know, like you said, we can work on the language that would be on the sign, but I think what I would want to just make sure right now is that I think the sign should really say no disturb zone, wetland area. pretty clear kind of thing where it's, definitely saying, don't go beyond this spot.
The sign that Kathy showed me today is very large, bold print, several fonts. At the top, it says wetland protection area. So, and then you can fill it in any way you want after that, but it does put people on notice if you want other language. We don't, the language that we came up with is saying this area is a fragile plant and animal habitat. Please help protect this precious resource.
Yeah, I mean, I like that, but that seems a little soft, I guess, like I think if there's gonna be a sign, I think it has to be a little bit more like,
That's fine by us.
Yeah.
You want to put
wetland,
a little more meat on the bone, that's fine.
yeah. So the marking pins shall be inspected by the commission periodically. So it seems the issue really is requiring the applicant to, or including language in this one, and it seems a little bit in the one in 33 and 34 that require communicating with future buyers. And I'm trying to figure out how we can, let's see. I mean, I like the sign is a great idea.
I want to say, I think the sign's a better idea than what's written here. I think the last time we met, we talked about this notion that the do not disturb aspect wouldn't be understood, or if a landscaper did something contrary to what's required. I mean, we can't, even the homeowner can't ensure that the landscaper is going to come in and get it, whereas a sign that says basically don't, it's sort of a no-no sign. I think
Do
that
not
would
enter.
work better.
Mm-hmm.
You got a better chance anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. Scott, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm supportive of the amended changes, removing the conditions for the landowner to notify future owners. And I agree with the proposed alternative, posting a sign with no disturb message on there.
Okay.
Beth, Donna's got her hand up.
Oh, sorry, half my screen is covered. I can't see hands. Oh, and so does Kathy. Okay, Donna?
Yeah, so a couple things that I just wanted to note. The sentence itself gives me concern because it says the applicant shall instruct all agents. And agents is a legal term, meaning essentially designated representatives. And it doesn't finish out agents of whom. So I just think if you're going to use that language in the future, you need to make sure that if you're going to do anything about agents, you need to say agents of whom. Just sort of a notation. The other thing is, if you're going to change it, I would make sure that there's a requirement that the sign be maintained, not just erected, but maintained as well. And the other piece of it is that I would I think I would have somewhere on the sign that it's subject to an order of conditions.
Yeah, or even something in regard to the deed. That somehow the language, it connects with the deed. So for example, if a new homeowner doesn't, for some reason, hear about the deed, but then gets there, sees the sign and is like, oh, what is this? The deed restriction, I guess.
To be perfectly honest, I think the order of conditions are stronger than the deed restrictions. I think they're really critical, and I think all attorneys that do real estate that are worth their salt would spend time really, if they found an order of conditions like this, making sure their clients understood it.
Mhm.
So I just, I think it's the order of conditions that's really where your authority is, and pointing out and that's where the real language is on what they have to do in this area. The deed
Mhm.
restrictions aren't half as explicit about how important this area is and what has to be done and maintained there.
Yeah, but I mean, as we keep talking about the conditions are not in perpetuity.
Well, they are. I mean, it's not like, I mean, it's not a question of perpetuity. It's a question because they can be modified, right? But they never go away unless the Conservation Commission came and said they were modifying it by removing it. An order of conditions on property is an order of conditions on property. And when you get your certificate of compliance and there's ongoing conditions in it, it's there. The difference between in perpetuity and not is that it can be modified. The same language that Attorney Martin just asked you to put on the deed restriction. That's the difference.
Mm. Okay.
So-
Kathy, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just, I know the language that we proposed sounded soft. I guess maybe I am a little soft in my approach to this. I want to both protect the wetland area, but I also don't want to discourage people from enjoying it. And, I know there are restrictions to that enjoyment, but a no disturb zone to me, I don't know, it's like a demilitarized zone or something. It just sounds, like it would prevent anybody from not disturbing the area, but from enjoying hiking, fishing, whatever they want to do in the river. So is there a possibility we could agree on a different signage language that wouldn't include a no disturb zone? I thought in our last meeting, Donna had mentioned something about not really liking that language anyway. So is there another way to say that without disturbing, rather discouraging the enjoyment of the area?
Well, I do think the sign should definitely sort of indicate that this is a wetland protection boundary, maybe clearly say that it's some kind of a boundary. And then
Well-
as Donna said, it should refer, you can say it's a wetland boundary that is
Protected by an order of
protected.
conditions.
Protected, that's the word. Yeah, I was gonna say regulated, but yeah, protected by an order of conditions.
I don't think you need to, I think you're right. If you have a big bold print, say wetland protection area, and then under it have subject to or protected by an order of conditions, and then Kathy's prose, which says the area is, fragile plant and animal habitat. Please help protect this precious resource. I think that conveys a very clear message and puts people on notice, and yet allows them to, see it, do whatever they are allowed under the law to do.
Mhm. Yeah, I think, and we can work on that language a little bit. And right here,
As long as the commission's okay with the concept, I think we can wordsmith the language. So I
So
would,
it would say, Beth, the applicant shall erect and maintain a sign.
Donna, I put install. I thought rather,
Okay, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. Install and maintain a sign
I'm gonna
And
call
I
it,
don't know whether you want to specify the location.
I'm gonna call it a wetland boundary sign, or a sign along the wetland boundary, or along the,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
really the wetland boundary, it is the no disturb zone, so install and maintain a sign along the wetland no disturb zone. I'm gonna call it this. Disturb. No disturb
Area,
No.
that's what you call it, other places.
area as shown on exhibit. I forget what we have for it, but I'll fill that in, exhibit, whatever it was. Maintain a sign along the no disturb area shown on exhibit, or no disturb line boundary. Shown on exhibit. Let's see. Show the sign. I want to say presenting, but that's not quite right. Discussing.
I would just say worded as follows or something like that, or worded like you have, as worded on exhibit XX.
Well, that's just where the boundary is. Boundary is shown. Or
Oh, where the
boundary is
boundary.
shown. And I
Okay.
just wanted to say, containing language, containing language that'll be worked on by the applicant and the Conservation Commission, but that can be said in a better way.
Yeah,
Along the no
I would work on it and just make it part of the exhibit. I wouldn't put in there that you're gonna work on it.
Yeah, that exhibit already exists. It's the one that goes with the deed, and it's just a map, and it actually shows where the boundary is. So I just
Oh, I
wanted
see.
this map, this sign to be placed along that same boundary. I'm gonna say with wording.
As follows or something, and then just when it's agreed to, put it in. There.
We could just say developed.
Don't you think we could probably just gin it up now, containing the following language, the wetlands protection boundary protected by SEC or Shutesbury Conservation Commission order of conditions, and if we want to put the nicer language that Kathy had worked up, add a little of that to the bottom.
Yeah, we could say at least, let's say along the exhibit with. Yeah. Yeah, and then we can just add some fluffier language, but as long as it includes this language.
You want me to repeat?
Sure, what'd you say?
We said wetlands protection boundary. Protected by
Or protected by, yep.
the Shutesbury Conservation Commission or SCC order of conditions.
We can
Yeah,
even,
leave it up to Kathy for the friendly language.
well, and we can give it its number if people think that's appropriate. The order.
I think you're gonna have so much on that sign, nobody's gonna be able to read it.
Well, there'll be plenty of room. But I think having this on there might help somebody look it up if they ever really wanted to look it up. So to me, that would be the required language, and then we can certainly add some more, fluffy language, but this would be the required language.
You can put with at a minimum the following language and then let Kathy add whatever she wants after it. Unless you're concerned that you want to make sure.
With the following required language.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so that's sort of with the understanding that there could be more, but this is what
Right.
has to be on there.
right.
Okay. Do we think we might need two of them? Like sort of one on one half of the boundary and one on the other half of the boundary? I mean, we don't have to include that in here. That was just a question. I was just curious.
Kathy, what do you think?
I'm tempted to go back to leaving the sentence in and forgetting the signs, to be honest. I didn't want a sign that was so, I don't even know what.
Industrial or?
Yeah, industrial. My sign was attractive with a heron, with the language that the area is protected. It was something that was going to demonstrate that these weird green markers mean something along the boundary. You know, because just in and of themselves, they beg the question, what the heck are those? So I thought a sign like what I originally proposed would kind of say it. I don't want it to look like it's, you know, like it's, yeah, almost like it's a contaminated site or something seriously wrong with the property when we know it's not. We're just trying to protect the wetland. So if it's going to be too wordy or too difficult, let's just leave the other sentence in, call it a day.
Well, this is just one. I mean, to me, you can have the bird, you can have all that stuff. This is just one sentence. It just says wetlands protection boundary protected by the Shutesbury Conservation Commission Order of Conditions. And this language could be sort of a little smaller than the more larger language that is saying, you know, this is a wetland we're trying to protect for these reasons, you know, that's a little friendlier, but just have this language on there in case, just to confirm that it is a boundary and it has the condition number in case people want to look it up. Is that all right?
Yeah, we'll put that on marker number 1, right by the road.
Okay. Again, I'm not going to put it in here, but I think it'd be great if you could put the sign together and then just have the commission or at least me or somebody take a look at it before you produce it.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay. All right, commissioners, are you good with that for number 31?
Yes.
Okay. So now we're working on 33 and 34. All right.
Steph, I think that it would be better if that said the applicant shall notify the Conservation Commission of the transfer of the property. I think that, I mean, hardly anybody's doing original signatures anymore. They're electronic or whatever. That's pretty archaic. And I don't think we care if they provide a letter or whatever. The point is you want to know, right? So if it says shall provide in writing
Right.
notification, then I don't think it matters whether it's a letter or whatever.
So that would apply to 33 and 34.
So, notify the conservation of the transfer
Shall notify in writing.
In writing?
Right, notify in writing the Conservation Commission of any a transfer of the property.
Because that includes everything, sale, whatever.
Right. And it seems to me that if you really want to guarantee that the new owner is aware of the order of conditions and the deed restriction, that then you may consider a letter going out from the Conservation Commission to the new owner or something in writing, basically letting them know.
Yeah,
I mean, the idea of the owner being able to explain it and be sure that the person understands, and then getting a letter saying the person understands is pretty meaningless. We don't know whether they understand or not, but if they get a copy of it, you know, or get a letter from the Conservation Commission saying, you know, this is the order of conditions on this property, they'll have it. That was just my thought on these.
prior to sale of property. So,
You crossed off commission and you probably shouldn't have.
oops.
Of a transfer of the property.
Okay. So that, yeah, so that's just notifying us, prior to sale of property or transferring the applicant shall notify in writing. We don't even need this.
Right.
In writing to the Conservation Commission.
You don't want
Uh,
the beginning of that, right? You don't need prior to the sale of property.
Prior to the sale of property.
You can start with just the applicant shall notify in writing the Conservation Commission the transfer of property, right? You don't need that beginning. And so you're saying it again.
Yeah. I still like prior to the sale though, but
Well, yeah, but if it doesn't go through, then that's just a waste of time.
does that sentence make sense? The applicant shall notify in writing. Notify the Conservation Commission in writing, notify in writing the Conservation Commission of,
I would finish
Oh,
out of a
transfer.
transfer and I would put of the property.
Of a transfer of the property, right?
Got it. Sorry, I didn't see of the property down there. Sorry.
All right, so they're gonna notify us of a transfer of the property.
And
Do we
so,
want to include anything about, um, I mean, yeah, I don't
if
know, it
we
does
get a
make,
letter like that, if we get a letter like that from the owner, then I think what Donna was saying was we bounce back to the new owner and say, hey, you know, take a look at your thing. This is what it means.
Please come and talk to us if you have any questions.
Yes, that's actually even better. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Okay, Kathy, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be difficult, but I'm not getting any younger. And I'm just wondering, is this the kind of language that's in every property that's near a wetland? It just seems so over the top for what we're trying to accomplish, or what you're trying to accomplish. You know, I'm thinking, okay, and we're not planning to sell this property. It's going to transfer to our kids at some point when we're, you know, how God knows how old. I'm just thinking, if we've got signage that we're going to put on the markers, and we have to maintain that, and the signage always has to be there, and you can come and look at it whenever you want, periodically. This just seems so, like, I'm afraid I'll be 85 years old and I'm going to forget to do this when I want to deed the house over to my daughter or my son.
Wrong muted.
I mean, my thought on that just is that it's a pretty special piece of property with the river right there. You know, I think forever going forward with this piece of property, the way wetlands and conservation commissions, how active everything is right now with protecting rivers, and that I think whoever owns this property going forever and ever, they're gonna have to have a relationship with the Conservation Commission. So your question, does this happen with all orders of conditions and things? I mean, often we're not dealing with a property that's quite as close to a resource area, and really could have some serious impacts on a really important river. You know, and that's why I've just seen many times with my career, when a new owner comes and they aren't informed that their property is very special, and something happens right away. You know, they buy the property and they want to do something right away to make it how they want it. And bad things can happen. So I don't know. I think that this one, what we've created here for number 33, I think makes sense. I love the idea of the sign also.
So if I made that in support of Kathy, I think collapsing 33 and 34 makes sense to me. Because I think what we're trying to do is manage and efficiently responsibilities and duties. The Conservation Commission on this special piece of property has the authority, based on this condition, to come in periodically and check it out, no matter who the owner is. So some responsibility has to be assumed by the Conservation Commission if they're concerned about this property, that they want to periodically stay on top of it. Asking the owners, as I said at the outset of my comments, to be responsible for notifying people about something that's in public records, both in the town, in the registry, everywhere, title examinations, of having the owner take the burden of letting other people know, now with a piece of property that's got a sign on it, that, hey, you know, well, I'm telling you that this has a deed restriction. I'm telling you this has a conservation restriction. I'm telling you that this has an order of conditions, all of which are public information and would be looked at. So to the extent that we can say simply that prior to the sale or transfer, that the owner will notify a potential buyer that there exists an order of conditions and a deed restriction, and if they do that, or they will notify the town of I think the better way is to say that they'll notify the town of a proposed transfer, so that the town doesn't get caught, you know, looking the wrong way. So, okay, there's going to be a new owner coming in. We'll check the registry. The assessor's office will tell it's transferred, and we'll go down there and make sure that they don't do anything. We'll do our enforcement of this, rather than having someone who might be in their 80s or 90s turn into the sheriff. So I think there's a way to meet both your concerns, collapsing these into a much more simple obligation that will allow you to be comfortable that you won't miss the opportunity to interact with a new owner, make sure that this area is protected. and you'll have a sign there. And, you know, I think that'll accomplish it. I think we're over wordsmithing this, making it complicated. The more complicated you make with these things, the more outs there are, the more conflicts there are, the more doubt that gets contained, can be brought up. And we don't want to, I don't think the town should go down that road. I don't think the settlers want to go down that road. I mean, I don't know how many times you can say that there's an order of conditions, you know, and there's a deed restriction. It's all over this, it's all over the registry. And everybody's on notice, including the Conservation Commission.
Yeah. No, I know, I also, so far in 33, what we're saying is that when there's a property transfer, the applicant or whoever the current owner is needs to notify the Conservation Commission.
Right.
So then the only other, 34, grantee shall provide a letter with that sort of, this is talking about that the buyer would then send a letter, which, so I agree, don't think that's necessary. I'm wondering if we want to say anything about the applicant letting a grantee know about the deed restriction.
I
But
think in real estate law, the applicant has any responsibility, and when they pass the property's taken subject to all these conditions, and if they don't follow them, then you have the authority and are empowered to take your enforcement of it. And
yeah,
I think it's, so when I go back to Kathy's point, even though this is a special piece of property, it should not be treated any differently for, you know, transfer and enforcement. It is being treated differently. While there's this long order of conditions. It has deed restrictions on it, and now it's going to have a sign on it. And so that's why, you know, in prior discussions, I said 33 and 34, I think should be collapsed, and it should merely say that they'll give notice of the transfer of the property. And
to the Conservation
Yes,
Commission.
yeah.
Is what you're saying.
yeah, we don't need it. We don't
Yeah.
need to go down that road. And, you know, she's already agreed to put a very tasteful sign out there, and but the sign that gets the message across.
Yeah, no, I'm all right with it. Scott and Jan, how do you feel about that?
I'm good with that.
Okay,
Me too.
all right, great. And then I think we already made the change to the deed restriction,
Correct.
which will stay with the deed. Yeah. All right. So I think we're done with our changes, as long as I see no hands. Actually, let's take public comment on this before we make any kind of a vote. So let me get back to the beginning. There we go. Public comment, Tom Seifert.
Good evening. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. I hope my comments won't take a long time. Would you be interested in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 typos going back through the document at all?
Sure, yeah.
If you follow me, please, on the 6 of them. If you scroll up to the beginning of this section where it's about the finding of facts, do you know where I mean?
Yeah, that's way in the beginning, yep.
Under number 2 of the finding of facts.
I'm
Oh, yours scrolls slower than mine.
it's very slow.
Yeah.
It's getting there though.
Like Heinz ketchup. And I apologize if these are really anal, but for number 2 there, you just passed it, the Sawmill River. The third line down there, I believe it should say as a sensitive wetlands habitat.
As a, yes, an area of ecological value as a, okay,
In number 3, following that, in the
Yep.
third line down at the end of the line. Oh, wait. Oh, I might be looking at a different thing. I'm looking at the one you sent me. Is the word pre-existing in there? Oh, I have the project includes a demolition of an 890 square foot house for number 3.
Maybe is that number 4? Yep, that's number 4.
Oh,
Project includes completing demolition of an 800. Maybe you just don't have the number 4 anymore. Somehow it
no,
got.
I have number 4 in front of previous tree removal. For some reason, the numbering is different on mine. The one that you sent me on email, it goes 1 A through E. Anyway, I don't know if that's an issue, but in the one that begins, the project includes completing demolition. Oh, you have the dash after pre-existing. My pre-existing doesn't have a hyphen in it. Okay. And in the next one, where it says previous tree removal, the line that begins enforcement orders required erosions control, I think it's just supposed to be erosion control.
Yep.
So then down to the, number 8, you have the word perpetual. It might be number 7 on yours, or number 9, I'm not sure. Yeah, number 9 on yours there. It mentions perpetual conditions listed below in the last sentence of number 9. So you may just want to put with the continuing conditions, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just thought that perpetual might bring questions
With-
since it's been such a hot word.
I'm just gonna do this with the conditions
Oh,
listed
okay.
below.
Yep. And then going down into number 25 somewhere, I think that could only be on the post-construction. Oh, no, it's 25 in the construction conditions.
Does it start with seeding shall occur?
Yeah, the last 4 words, it should be until the site is fully vegetated.
Yep.
And then for the famous number 30 that we were talking about tonight,
Yeah.
I have an approve that should be approved. Yeah, so if you look in the middle on the very left, one line begins with approved site plan and it should be approved site plan to the best of my knowledge there. I just noticed those. I hope I didn't miss any other ones. Can I add 1 more minute of comment, please?
Thank you for your editorial help.
Sure. I just want to say this hearing and this whole permit application has been a great learning process for me. I've learned a lot about perpetual conditions and writing of conditions as a conservation commission. What I've learned is that perpetual conditions are oftentimes legal for conservation commissions to use. And I'm really glad that this evening didn't include any ad hominem attacks. And I applaud everyone for not going into personal character assassination, which unfortunately did seem to occur. It was unfortunate to read that also in the letter from the applicant's counsel. There was a sentence about an over-aggressive conservation commission in times past, and I just didn't think that was appropriate or relevant. So I wanted to caution about statements like that. And I think this whole process has, at least for me as a townsperson, a taxpayer, and somebody who just wants to get his buck for his taxes fairly and transparently, it brought up questions about conflict of interest issues with our town council, where the council recused themselves from looking at this permit. And then last summer, the council recused themselves from participating in the review of the Conservation Commission's wetland and bylaw regulations. And it just ends up very confusing for a person in the town to know whether our town council was truly in a conflict-free position to deal with matters, perhaps in the town, that are conservation related. And it appears partially due to a business transaction with the applicant, but also with the owning of property on the lake by the town council. And I just want to highlight it as something that might haunt us in the future as townspeople here in Shutesbury if we don't get a very clear description of when our town council needs to recuse themselves or not for conservation related matters. And I know there's no answer available here, but just wanted to offer that it's been very eye-opening and very helpful to learn about these things, but I'm still left with some questions. And I just wanted to say that. Thank you very much for letting me say all of that.
All right, thank you, Tom. Are there any other public comments? No, all right, I'm gonna stop screen sharing. Figure out how to do that. There we go. All right, just a second. Someone has to let my dog in. Just a moment. Sorry. All right, so I think we're ready to, I'm ready to take a motion to approve the amendments to the already previously amended order conditions for 31 Lakeview Road.
I approve the amendments that we've worked up here tonight.
Second,
I'll second.
all right. Con,
Aye.
Rowan,
Aye.
and Wilson, aye. All right, thank you very much. We'll get those put together and mailed to you and sent to DEP probably next week.
Okay,
Submitted to
how
DEP.
quickly do you want the language for the sign? Should I send that to you tomorrow? Does that need to be included?
Yeah, as soon as you've got something, I'll
Okay.
take a look at it and we can work on it. That would be
Okay.
great.
I'll do that. Thank you. Thanks all.
Once again, thank you for your time and energy in getting this process and put through. I know it's been a little bit of a labor, but I think it ended up in a good work product. So appreciate it. Everyone's professionalism and what they brought to the table on this, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah, you too. It was a learning experience a little for me too. It was good.
Good night.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Donna. Thanks for your
Well done,
help.
me.
Good night, Donna.
All right. Night,
Thank you.
everybody. Have a good evening.
You too. All right. All right, I think we did number 3, our site visit scheduling. Under unanticipated business, something I wanted to talk about is the forest cutting plan that we got. Have you guys had a chance to look at that? It's a forest cutting plan for an area on Montague Road. And I think I sent you guys some guidance on reviewing forest cutting plans.
I did not get. to that
You're both
guide.
looking at me like you don't know
Oh, I
what
looked
I'm
at
talking
I did look at the cutting plan, but I didn't get to the guidance part. So
about. Okay.
we want to talk about that. Maybe you can give a rundown.
Yeah. So when we get these, they're sent to us from DCR, from that office, not necessarily the forester who's assigned to it, but that office. And yeah, I've got the guidance right here, actually. But what we're concerned with is basically that the delineation looks accurate. that the map really provides us with enough information for us to look at where they're saying there's some wetland areas and then especially when there's wetland crossings and things that they're showing where they are, that they're showing the filter strip, which needs to be there on the map, that they're showing the extent of the cutting, and then that's all clear. You know, these forest cutting plans provide a whole lot of other information like number of boards cut and species of trees and things like that. But our concern is really the wetlands. And then the way I understand it is if we look at a cutting plan and we don't feel comfortable with it, so we have 10 business days to review it and comment on it to the assigned forester. I believe the forester also has 10 days to review it, 10 business days. And then he's the one that approves it. He's the one that does all the enforcement, and you know, does any site, he should do site visits in general. He should also, if he goes and does a site visit and has an issue, he's the one that does the enforcement. We're just kind of this third party that's included in the discussion and is allowed to look at these plans. And if we see any issues with it during those 10 business days, we let him know. We can do a site visit, but again, we have to contact him like we have to go through him to do it. I think that's about it. Let me look at the guidance thing, I think. Yeah.
Beth, is this a small lot for harvest in your experience?
Yeah, it is. And I know where this is on Montague Road. This is like, it's an extension of an already, which I don't remember because I think it was before me, and an existing cutting plan. So there's another one. They've started cutting in this area under a different plan. And now this is sort of like a little expansion of something that was permitted a while ago. And so just looking at this plan, there's no stream crossings or wetland crossings proposed. So right away, that's kind of a flag to us that it's probably okay. And the end
That's
to
what
me,
I was noticing too.
Yeah.
It looks like it cuts up to the edge of a stream, right?
yeah, it cuts up to an edge of a stream, but they do have it marked as having a filter strip. It does say FS1 on there. The way I understand filter strips is I think it's 50 feet and they're still allowed to cut within the filter strip, but they have to do only like a 50%. Do you know more about that, Scott, than I do? Or so it's something like it's 50 feet and they can still cut, but they have to cut quite a bit less than what they're allowed to cut outside the filter strip. But this map clearly indicates at least where the cut is going to be. And it's got the wetlands areas marked and the streams marked and the filter strip on there. You know, it seems like it's got everything that it needs. And we got it in time. Sometimes you get these, I remember in Amherst, we would get them, they'd already be signed by the forester and like the work had already started. Like I think the DCR and the Forester Service is getting better at realizing that they need to get this out so that commissions do get a chance to look at them. But
Well,
yeah, no, this is a smaller cut, definitely a smaller cut.
Just looking at it, you know, I looked at it much the same as you, Beth. It didn't seem to have a direct wetland impact or anything that would require our review. So it seemed good to me.
Yeah. And the other thing to just look that they always notice that they do have a long-term forest management plan. They check the box that that the landowner has that. So it's, I'm sure it's chapter 61, forestry land, and they have written a long-term forest management plan, which is good. So yeah. If there aren't any other questions on that, we can just vote to, it's not like we're voting to approve it. It's maybe that we're just voting to not comment on it. To not submit comments to the forester on it. If you guys think that that's what we should, if you are in support of that. All right, so I'm looking for a motion to
A
make
motion
no
to not
comments on the
comment.
forest, on this forest cutting plan. I guess for the forest cutting plan for Montague Road, Susan and Sarah Patton and Deacon Bonner. Might as well put that in the minutes that that's who the landowner is and the property's on Montague Road.
Okay. I motion.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
All right. Rowan,
Aye.
Khan, and Wilson, aye. Great. All right, I think that's all that is on the agenda. So our next meeting is the 24th. We have that site visit on the 24th.
I just
So
want to say, I just want to say that the, can you see that?
It's blurry.
You see nothing but magenta? That's the Northern Lights, eh?
Oh, right now?
Tonight. Well, a little bit earlier, unfortunately, while we were meeting.
Oh,
I'll be
no.
out there. Look north.
I will go next.
Good, good. Let's get out there and look. I'm jealous of you people on the lake that get to see something. I don't know if I can see
That was
anything.
just looking up through the trees,
Was it?
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
right?
Oh, that's so cool. I'm gonna go look. That's awesome.
I may not be able to make the 24th. I'm gonna be out of town. That's our next meeting. So hopefully we have a quorum. I'm gonna try to make it if I can. If depends on when my meeting wraps up.
Okay.
But
I wrote that down. All right, well, yeah, I haven't heard from anybody who came to the birthday party and took our descriptions. And we didn't get a ton of people saying, I really want to be on the conservation.
Beth, did we
So
do
we'll see.
anything about getting into the town newsletter that's usually comes out about now? Can we still?
I don't know if we still can, but we didn't put anything in whenever they asked.
So I guess if the question might be, could we stick something in it? You know how they do inserts sometimes? Like for
Yeah,
dog licenses?
I can find out.
We could put something in.
Yeah. Yeah, if we're not too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, is that Leslie Bracebridge that I would get in touch with about that? Or
I don't know, but now we have Mateo.
It's true. Yeah. I'll ask Mateo to research. All right. All right. Motion to adjourn.
So motioned.
Second.
second.
All right. Con,
Aye.
Rowan,
Aye.
and Wilson. Aye. All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Have a good night. I hope you see the northern lights.